This is the solution video for SAM Tutorial 7 Project 1. There's quite a few instructions under getting started because we're dealing with macros in this chapter. Notice the title of the workbook ends with a .xlsm. That tells me there's a macro. So you may end up with one or more of these yellow pop-up boxes. So first, of course, we're going to enable editing. And then we get one more security warning that says, whoa, macros have been disabled. Do you want to enable that content? Because potentially macros could be malicious. So right now we trust this one, so we're going to say enable content. Then the other instruction under getting started is we are going to be creating our own macro, and so we need a developer ribbon, and in a normal install of Excel, that's not visible. So you want to go to File Options, and under Customize Ribbon, there's a checkbox for the developer ribbon. Now, of course, mine is selected because I've already done it. But at home, yours may not be selected. So make sure that's clicked on, you hit OK, and now your developer ribbon will show up there. So finally, I think we're ready to start the project. Of course, they want you to put your first and last name right there. And then we're going to go to the consolidated sheet. And on instruction 1, we're going to unprotect the sheet. So if you go to the review ribbon, there's several ways actually to unprotect, but this is one. This is a button that says unprotect. Well, it's a toggle. So the reason it says unprotect is because we are protected. If I click on it, it will then say protect the sheet. So we just turn that off. The other place I believe is under home, format, and right here you can unprotect the sheet also. So I will click on that. We're now unprotected. If I go back to the review, it now says protect the sheet. So we want to define some names on step 2. And basically we're going to select this range C6 through E6. So make sure your selection is correct. And then in the name box, we're going to type groupware subscriptions, hit enter. Then right here, I'll select those. In the name box, I'll type groupware licenses, hit enter, and then of course do the next one. Make sure you type it accurately. You need the underscore. You can't have spaces in defined names. And I think I'll pause the video while I name these 3 cells so you're not watching me type. But don't forget to type it and then hit enter when you're done typing. So I've typed in those names. So when I select these 3 cells, you'll see groupware subscriptions, groupware licenses, and groupware other. So now we move on to step 3. They want us to delete a defined name. So there's a name manager. It's under the formula ribbons. Here's where we do the name manager under the defined names group. And by the way, we could have created our names right here. We could have said, give it a name and referred to and selected our cells. But I did it by doing the name box. I'm going to select trends, I think is the one we want to delete. So I will grab that and hit delete on this box. Hit OK. I think I can close this. And now we're going to apply names to a particular formula. Whoop, I skipped a step 4 where we need to edit a name. So back to name manager, and it is the consulting revenues total. So which one is that? Oh, the very top one. So we can edit that, and we want to just shorten it to be consulting. So I will remove the other piece, and the range will stay the same, so we can hit OK. Now on step 5, we'll apply the defined name. So I'll hit close. Notice all of our formulas still have cell references, right? C11 to E11, C12 to E12. Well, when you name ranges and then use them in formulas, those names should show up here. Well, in this case, the formulas were here first, the names defined second, and so right now we're about to go through the process of putting those names into these formulas. So we can really click anywhere on the sheet. It doesn't matter where you're selected, but under defined name, here's where we can apply them. And they want us just to apply these 3. So it's going to be the spring mail. These named ranges are for the spring mail section. So we say only apply those 3. Oops, unselect consulting. Just those 3. And we're going to hit OK. And then when I look at these formulas, it's just going to be these 3. Notice instead of cell references, it now has the named ranges inside of there. So that's it for step 5. In step 6, they want us to put a sum formula down here. When I select this range, notice in the name box it has a name and they've already been defined. So there's a few ways we can use that. We can hit sum, And to be honest with you, if you just select that range, it automatically replaces your cell reference with the named range. So I can close it. And now one of the problems with named ranges, well, I don't know if it's a problem, but just realize that they are absolute. That's an absolute reference. So in other words, if I try to drag that formula down, it would be summing this row all the time. That doesn't shift on us. So Math Genius subscriptions is this range all the time. So I don't want to drag that formula now. So the other way we can use named ranges, I'll hit sum parenthesis, is if you start typing, if you happen to know the name of the range. So I type math and notice up comes a list of 3 named ranges because they start with math. And in this case, I'm on site licenses, so I can just click right there, hit the tab key, and close that up and hit enter. And I can do the same thing, type the word math. Now I'm on other, so I could click on that, hit the tab key, and then close up that sum. So that was using those named ranges in the sum formula. And now we're in step 7, which they want us to insert a comment in B13. So right there, I hit the other. You can right click to insert comment, or you can go to the review and do a new comment. And what is a comment is that it's going to put in that red triangle with a little description or your comment right there. So B13, new comment. I'm going to cut and paste it out of the instructions. Control copy. Make sure you include the period and make sure you remove whatever it says in the comment box. So normally it has the name of the person using the computer on there, the computer name. So in this case, we want to take that out and only have the comment and hit enter. Don't hit enter, just click someplace else. And then the comment will stay there with your comment in it. I think in step 8, we're done with that. In step 8, we want to edit this comment. So same thing. I can click right here and I can now edit that comment up here in the review ribbon, or I can right click, edit comment. And all they want us to do is change the 2015 to 2016, which I've done. And so then I will just click out, and now that comment's been edited. All right, so now I get to play with macros a little bit. So your developer ribbon needs to be visible. And the instruction on 9 is that we want to create a button just like this one, but except in cell G3, right down here. So under developer, you have your insert, and right there's a form control. That's the one we want, or the form control section, and there's several different kinds of controls, but we just want the button, which is the first one. You click on it and your cursor will turn into a plus, and you want to draw it and make sure you get it only in cell G3, because I think the grader marks it wrong if you don't. I don't know what just happened there, but when you let go of your mouse, it will open up this box and go, all right, what macro do you want to assign to that? And we want to assign the hide sparklines macro, so we hit OK. There's our button. If you click in it, it will allow you to edit the caption, and we want it to say hide space sparklines, I think with an S. And then while it's selected, you can shrink it up a little bit to make it look like the one above it, and I think we're okay with that. And then you have to click someplace off the button in order to not have it selected. So I'm just going to click over here. It's not selected. And now step C says we'll run the darn thing. So the next time we go to the button, notice I now have a finger. So I can click on it and it hid the sparklines, because that's what the macro was designed to do. Now in step 10, we're going to create our own macro. So again, developer ribbon. The first instruction is to make sure that relative references is not on. So you click on that and it's on. It's gray box around it. If you click again, it's off. So we record the macro. Right there, it says, well, what do you want to call it? And we're going to call it view sparklines, and it cannot have an space in the name. And then for the shortcut, they want just a T, Control T, and then they want a description, which I am going to cut and paste from the instructions. So there it is, view sparklines, Control T. Here's our description. Now we hit OK. Now from this point on, you have to be very careful, because every click and everything that you do is being recorded. So if you do things right, that's good, it records it, and if you do things wrong, it's still recording it. So instruction A, select the range G6 to G22. So here we go, 6 down through 22. I've done that. On the ribbon, click the Insert tab. So it's right here. In the sparkline group, click the Line button. We did it. And then it says select the range C6 to E22. So here's C6. Here's E22. I have it. And then there's a little hint that this should already be filled in, and it is. Good. We click the OK button. There they are. And now we're done recording that macro. So we have to go to the developer ribbon and hit the stop button. I should mention there's also a stop button down here in the very bottom left corner. So stop recording. Yay, we got the macro working. We want to assign that macro to our View Sparkline button. So I'm going to right click on View Sparklines and assign macros right here. And of course it goes, well, which one do you want? And you click the one we just created, View Sparklines. We hit OK. And now again that's selected, so I have to click out, click someplace to unselect it. And now watch this, I can hide the sparklines and view the sparklines. They mentioned we can confirm that this guy works by running to the next sheet, Manchester. Now of course the button is gone, but we assigned a shortcut key, Control T, and boom, that put it in on this sheet in that exact same range right there. So moving on to instruction 11, go to the sale data entry form and unlock the cells in the range C5 to C11. Now by default, every cell in Excel is locked, but it doesn't really affect anything until you protect the sheet. Once you protect the sheet, nobody can type in locked cells. Well, in this case, these yellow cells, we want somebody to be able to type in them, so we're going to unlock them. There's like 3 ways to do it. One is under here under Format. There's a lock cell. That's kind of a bummer of a button because the only way you can tell that things are locked is that little green box. And if I click on it and go back, the green box is gone. I don't know why they didn't open the padlock. So that was one way. So these cells are unlocked. The other way is I can right click on my selection, Format Cells, and the very last tab is called Protection. And there's a locked box right here. Every cell in Excel is set to be locked. The only reason this one wasn't was because I had already unlocked them using the other method, using the format way. So these cells are unlocked already, so I'm good to go. But I'm going to hit OK. If I were to select any other group of cells anywhere on this spreadsheet, right click Format Cells, Protection, they're all going to be locked. And that's the default setting. Hit OK. So now under instruction 12, these yellow cells, they want us to name them. And we're going to use the name that's over here in the orange. And so the quickest way to do that, we're doing B5 through C10, is to select both columns in that range. And under formulas, we are going to create the names from selection. So rather than sitting over here and typing product name, customer name up here in the name box, we can do it with this button. And right here it says, where do we want to get the names from? And we're like, just the left column. The left column has the names, and we're going to apply them to this column right here. So I hit OK. And now watch when I select this cell, it says product name with an underscore because you can't have spaces, customer name, customer or contract type, date of sale. So that's a quick way to name ranges, is this create from selection button. Now instruction 13, we're going to assign a macro to the clear button. So I'm going to right click on it, assign macro, and it's this clear one. We'll hit OK. And now in instruction 14, they want us to edit that macro. So we're being thrill seekers here because we can really mess something up. But we'll go to the developer ribbon and we hit macros, and it's the clear macro. We're going to edit that guy. So when we do, it opens up a new window that I need to drag over here. Whoops. Here's what a macro looks like. And they're pretty easy to read. Range C5 to C9 we're selecting, and then that selection we're going to clear the contents. So we are just going to change the 9 to a 10. That's the extent of our big edit. So we're good there. I can now close this window. This is part of the workbook, so when you save the workbook, you're saving that change. So I close that workbook, and now they want us to run that guy. So I have to click out, so that it's not selected, and then when I come back I'll have the finger and we should see this guy's name go away because we did C5 through 10. So I hit clear. Yep, the name went away. Moving on to instruction 15, we're going to create a validation rule for cell C5. We only want people to be able to type things that are in a list. So under data validation, any value? No, we want a list. So now we need to check all the requirements here. Ignore blanks and appear as an in-cell dropdown. So we have that selected. And now the sources of our list, very often the source will be someplace like a list on the sheet. And in fact, when I did an advanced filter and created a unique list, a lot of the reasons why I do that is that then I use it for a source and a data validation. In this case, in step B, we are going to copy from step B and actually type in our source. So you can create a list by separating your groups with separating the items with a comma. So there is our list. What other? We do want to put in an input message. So the title will be product name. I guess I'll type that rather than copy paste. Product name. And then the input message is click the arrow to select a product. Control copy, control paste, including the period. So make sure you put that period in there. The error alert, so that's this third tab, should have the stop style, which it starts out with. Invalid product is the title, so I will type invalid that, if I can type. And then any invalid product, so I'm going to copy their message and stick it in the error message with the period. So I think we're done with that guy. I hit OK. And now that's the input message, and that's in fact why I don't use them, because they're kind of annoying. But every time somebody clicks on that cell, that thing pops up. But then I can hit the drop down arrow and there is my group. And if I were to type something other than what's supposed to be there, there is our error message, so I can hit cancel. So moving on to instruction 16, we're going to go to C8 and create a rule. Must be greater than or equal to a certain date. So here we go. I'm going to click on C8, which gets rid of my input message, data validation, settings, and this time we are not going to allow any value, which is the default setting. We're only going to allow a date, and it has to be greater than or equal to. So greater than or equal to, and then you can just type 1/1/2014 at that point. And now we got to go ahead and go through the same hoops with the input message. And I'm going to copy and paste. Although that's a short enough one, don't forget to grab the period. And I'm going to get rid of the space that I accidentally got. And then we'll grab the error alert, which is also a stop style, invalid data sale. And then I'll grab their message, including the period. And I accidentally grabbed a space, and so I'll backspace and get rid of that. So I think we're good on that. So now we have for C8 a, if I were to type 1/1/2013, it will say nope, it has to be after that. All right, we're almost done. Instruction 17 wants us to fill this out. So on C5, we're choosing spring mail, and then we're filling this out and putting in a particular date in the 50,000. Do not enter a value in C10. So I think I'll stop the video so you don't have to watch me type. All right, I'm back. Remember, when you type total sale, you can just type 50000. You don't want to put in the $sign or the comma. It's already formatted to display those. Do not enter a value in C10. And now on instruction 18, we need to protect the sheet and the workbook. So under review, here's where we protect the sheet. It says do not use a password. We'll leave that blank, and it doesn't mention any of these other selections, so we'll just live with the default values, which basically is allowing a user to select all of these locked cells. He can't type in them, but at least he can click on them. And then, of course, you want him to be able to select these unlocked cells because that's where they'll do their typing. So we're going to hit OK on that. And then you can protect the workbook, which means don't let people insert or delete sheets in our workbook. So protect the structure of the current workbook. We have that. Password's optional, and that's what we want. So you hit OK. I'll now submit this to the SAM grader and see how we did. Yay, I got 100% this time, so everything I did went okay. There's a lot of typing, so I suspect you're going to have to be very careful about your spelling and the periods and all those weird things, but that should be it for this solution video.